Jeff, for this interview, you've touched on so many different parts of your courses and your book. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about what you will be incorporating into your 2-year program that you've launched? Okay. And how that benefits writers?
Yeah. It's the same tools that I've always been teaching, but what I used to do was 30-hour intensive weekends, or 30 hours like every Tuesday night, 3 hours for 10 weeks. And the tools are complex and sophisticated so that fire hose teaching is not at all the best way to instill deep know-how with these tools. And I wanted to really find a much better way to teach, so that I spent a couple years just thinking about how to teach it differently and to teach bigger groups, because it was always limited to 6, because I felt like I had to really get each person using the tool on their own script so they could get experience using the tools properly and see their stories respond to it. The word of mouth for those classes was through the roof, because people loved the tools. They got a chance to really use them, and their scripts improved quite a lot. But I felt like they couldn't go home and use these tools with expertise. You know, it's like somebody teaching you how to build a rocket and get it to the moon. You have to really study every part of it and break it down and integrate it and synthesize it into a comprehensive expertise. So, I really studied the science of learning and the science of training people in expertise, and the science of cognitive apprenticeship, and found a way to teach a large group of people over a much longer amount of time. I found that I could turn people into seasoned, versatile dramatists who could make scripts work of any genre and could tackle any medium. And so, it's a high-intensity training program, and it's still the hands-on, intensive process that I've always done, but I've opened it up quite a bit. So the core of the program, the one thing that I'm actively doing as I teach, is an 18-month period where all we're doing is constantly working on maybe 6 to 8 different scripts of different genres and at different stages of development. So that one day we'll be working on an action comedy, the next day it might be a thriller, and so on. So we're continually changing gears and moving from script to script. So you get experience with different genres and even different mediums. One will be for a screenplay, one will be a TV series, one will be a stage play. And one of them we're just starting out, one of them's mostly done. And everybody's working as a group, and they're still doing writing assignments and exercises and learning games. And there's like group problem solving, like if we're stuck at the end of, a thriller, trying to figure out how the murder actually goes down. Maybe we'll spend a whole week on it and are completely stumped. And so we have group problem solving where I'll have everybody coming up with ideas that, like their assignment would be to go home and come up with 20 different ways to pull off this murder, and then look at your 20 ideas and sort the best ones to the top, and then put those best ones into the group, and then everybody works together to sort those best ones to the top. So we may end up with 20 or 30 phenomenal ideas, the best of the best. And we all look at those and go, wow, these are really great. This one could really solve our problem. This one solves it and opens up an interesting stuff that would make us complicate the story earlier on. It opens up a whole lot more. This one is so good, we should set it over here and make a whole script out of it on its own. But it makes the students do the work themselves. It's not about them sitting back and watching me do this stuff. It's about me making them as proactive as possible so that the more expertise they acquire, the more they're integral to the process, so that if we come to like a horror film that's partly developed, there might be a team of advanced students who are actively working on that every day. And we say like, oh, so how's it going? And they'll say, well, we solved this. Now we're stuck here. We use this tool. And so came up with this phenomenal idea. And it's fun and we're doing great, but we're stuck here. And then everybody is participate on that as a group. And there might be a teaching moment where I end up giving a whole lecture on this particular aspect of one tool. And that teaching lecture becomes part of the permanent teaching library that anybody can go to at any time. And I'm basically turning these students into rough and tumble experts who can really tackle anything. Sometimes I feel like I'm training them to be like rodeo clowns or something, because I don't know if you know this, but rodeo clowns are high-skilled gymnasts. They're like really, really technically proficient in really, I mean, they go up against a 1,600-pound bull to distract it, to rescue the rider, and like they like grab a fence and leap. And they're like unbelievably skilled and rough and ready and can tackle anything. And so it's like that kind of versatility and flexibility and attack and high degree of skill in multiple highly technical tools. And you can throw them into a comedy or a horror film or a thriller, and they're like, I got this. And that's what they're all building toward. And so really I only do one thing, and that's this open workshop where we're constantly building scripts, and that's all we're doing. And that's how I train people. And there's definitely teaching moments here and there as they come up, but it's about learn by doing. It's a real apprenticeship. We're really building real scripts in real time. And the challenge that I had when I was wrestling with how do I teach larger groups and teach differently, the question that finally freed me up was, okay, so if I could wave a magic wand and teach any way I wanted to, what would I do? Instead of stuck in all the limits and how do I get out of this? It was like, no. If I just could wave a magic wand and do anything, no limits, no anything, I was like, okay, well, I'd take 2 years and really train the crap out of them, like really train them. And then, okay, so if it's a 2-year program, how do I make it so, the big question was, how do I make it so people can join in? Because, it's like you hear about the program and I want to join them. I'm sorry, it's another 14 months before the next one starts. That doesn't work. I was like, okay, so how can it be a continuously ongoing open workshop where we're just building scripts all the time? How do I make it so anybody can join in at any time? So I said, okay, so if there was a 3-month training program that's basically a pre-recorded video program, and it's the building of a complete script in those 3 months, it's kind of like a flight simulator where you take this 3-month video program and I start on day 1 with a 1-sentence idea for a thriller. And by the end of the day 1, we've already got an idea up and running. We're looking at her dilemma already. And then they have exercises and learning games and assignments, but not too much, but it's intensive. And then day 2, we're building more, and it's all me on video talking to them. But I'm giving them assignments and trying to make them as proactive as possible. And they're copying down the use of the tools and learning how to think and seeing and participating in the creation of this story. And even though they can't participate in the actual creation of it, because that 3-month class may have been recorded 2 years ago, I still give them professional assignments. Say, okay, so she's stuck in this room and this person is watching her, but she's got to get a message to so-and-so or she's dead. I don't know how to do that. Your assignment is go home and come up with 20 different ways she might do that. And I'll show up the next day with my solution for that. And I can't interact with what they did because this was recorded years ago. But they had to really wrestle with the problem and really think it through. So I'm trying to make them as proactive and as involved in the process as possible. And as we use all the tools and they end up hand copying all the sequence, proposition, plot we do as we construct it. And then once we've done it for the overall story. They've hand copied that, done it for each act. They've hand copied that. Just a few pages each day. Do all the sequences. And then we come to the first scene and we structure that scene. And they actually write that scene. And then the next day we structure the next scene and they write that scene. We go all the way through and each person writes their own version of this thriller. And when they've got their own version, that graduates them into the 18-month program. So it's a way to give them enough exposure to the process, see all the tools in action. They're not tasked with trying to learn the tools. Their main job is to observe everything, to get oriented so they see the whole process. And then when I'm training them intensively in the 36 dramatic situations, and they're like, I hate this. Why is he having us do this over and over again? They're not going, I hate this. They're going, oh, I see how immensely valuable it is because we did it there. And so not only are they oriented and they've seen the whole thing, so they understand how each part functions as part of the whole, but when they come out of that 3-month video recording program, they can jump into the 18-month program, and we may be spending the whole week figuring out the ending of a romantic comedy. And they can jump right in. They understand sequence, proposition, plot, dilemma, all these things. It's not foreign to them, so they can jump right in and participate. So that means in this ongoing 18-month thing, they can join in at any time. And then as they acquire more and more expertise, and I give more and more responsibility to them and challenge them more, and they always have to be able to articulate their thinking process as they wrestle with the tools, so that the experts toward the end of the 18 months, I can say to them as they're wrestling with the ending of a ghost story, I'd say, okay, so articulate what you're thinking. And they'd be like, well, okay, so we have a good, strong dilemma, but we're still struggling with the crisis. We have this, this, and this for the crisis. And I'd say, have you thought of that? And they'd be like, good point. They're not thrown. Or I'd say like, wait, you did that wrong. And they're like, well, so what? I'd be like, this. And they go, oh, of course. Like they're almost there, they're like, and everybody's learning from that. And the more and more expertise, the more they don't need me. My instructional voice is internalized into their own process. They can emulate my thinking process. They can emulate, they have the metacognitive skills to evaluate their own professional process. So they can be like, I'm doing the technique properly, but I shouldn't even be focusing on that because here's the main question. So to be able to challenge their own professional skills and kick themselves out of bed and reverse their own trajectory and all that is important. Then, in order to graduate from the program, they do the last 3 months, which is to build a script on their own, still in this open workshop. And we've been throwing ideas that people don't so much care about into the group story bin and even working on them. So they pick an idea from the group story bin, develop it, build it in an open workshop that's open to everybody. And it's like a teaching hospital where I'll come by with the whole group and go, how's it going? Where are you at? And they'd be like, well, I solved this. Oh, that's great. That was a hard hump to get over. And they're like, tell me about it. And this is the tool I'm using now. Here's where I'm stuck. I may have some insight, or I might say, wow, that's brilliant. And the other students may have questions, and they're articulating their thought process. And when they complete that script, they can graduate. And they take that script with them. It's theirs. Or they could, if they want more, they can do another one like that. Or they can also stay in the group. They may like collaborating with the people they've been through it with, and they can be in private sessions where they still have this as like their writers group and a coffee shop, and they have people who can read their drafts and brainstorm with them, so that kind of interactive capability with people who know the same tools is there for graduates. And it's it's not open to the other people because they want to be really working their scripts now, but they may like the community. So that's an option too. So it's really the 18-month, there's 3 months to get into it. It's kind of like if you're going to go up and work on the space station, NASA will put you through a training, and then you can go up in the space station, you're not going to get people killed, and you can operate in zero G and, know how to function in an emergency and all that stuff. And then the last 3 months, you do it all on your own, which completes the synthesis of all your skills and your abilities and your functionality to where you feel like you can go off and do your own thing or stick around and keep working with, the same community in a private format that's not open to the whole group, but you can still interact with people. So that's the basics of it. It's been fun to create. It's been really challenging. And just trying to figure out all the things and integrate all the new learning techniques that I've found and keep challenging myself. And it's been, it still is, I'm still in the middle of creating it. And it's fascinating again. I got burnt out on teaching the same thing nonstop for 18 years. It was really good to get a break, and now it's really fun to come back into it.